Brendan, so you just heard Marjorie Taylor Greene there at that event. Now I want to play Steve Bannon from just a short time ago. Same place. Here it is.
Are we at war? Is this a political war to the knife? Are you prepared to leave it all on the battlefield in 2024? On the afternoon of January 20th, we must free the 1,400 patriots and must incarcerate the criminals.
That guy there, he expects to be back in the White House if Donald Trump wins. What is your reaction, and why isn't this exactly why Democrats frame a possible Trump presidency as dangerous?
Yeah, remember for a few weeks after Nikki Haley dropped out, the idea that Donald Trump was going to try to play to the independents and sort of win back the middle? I mean, the alternate reality that so many Republicans are living in, like we're in the middle of a general election now. You should be appealing towards an independent-based swing voters. But the entire party is built around these nonsensical ideas, these conspiracy theories, this fringe stuff. I mean, the conference that he's going to be speaking at is the type of thing that is so fringy that you wouldn't ever see a member of Congress there. Now the president or former president of the United States is going to speak there. I think it just shows how completely entrenched the party is in only appealing to the base. And look, there may be a way to win an election like that these days. I don't know, but it sure feels like you're writing off a huge number of people who don't like Joe Biden. But when you remind them of this crazy talk, it makes it really uncomfortable for a lot of people to come over to Donald Trump's side.
You know, I'm going to pick up on that with you, Brittany. Do those words and that call for action, does it scare you, or do you see it as an opportunity for Democrats to use this against the former president, or both?
I'd say both, because I see it as an opportunity for Democrats to remind America just how scary it would be for this party, this president, and that platform to take root once again in the White House. Look, I'm not at all surprised by seeing what we're seeing, and I'm certainly not surprised by seeing this further entrenchment. When you have a base that has been told in political messages from Ronald Reagan to Lee Atwater to the Bushes and certainly to Mr. Trump that they are entitled to the privileges that they have been enjoying through dominant culture, well, those people are going to see any kind of equality, any kind of justice, any kind of equity for anyone else as a direct threat. So this is why Steve Bannon gets on stage and says that this is not a fight. It's not even a battle. This is a war. That's precisely how they're treating this. And Democrats should be spotlighting that at every chance they get. They are at war against everyday people who are very simply trying to keep a roof over their heads, food on their families' plates, and trying to make sure that they can live not just in surviving ways, but lead thriving lives in this country that sold us that dream. So that should be the Democrats' message from now ad infinitum.
Yeah, there's so much unprecedented about where we are right now, Brendan. But here's an unprecedented question. If Donald Trump cannot attend in person, what effect would that have on the convention? I mean, would it rile up his base even more? And what do you think it would do for people who are still on the fence?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you have to, picture the scenario in which that's happening. If he is confined to his home, if he is sentenced in that way, I think that alone is going to rile up people. It's certainly, I don't think, again, good to that middle to have your nominee being sentenced and not being able to travel. When Donald Trump last week said that Milwaukee is a horrible city or something to that effect, I don't think that was an accident. I think he is very much aware that there is either a possibility or likelihood that he's not going to be able to be there. Now, that may not come to fruition, but it's clearly on his mind. I've been in enough of those rooms where he's rattling around, saying a bunch of nonsense, but there's usually something tied to it. So clearly something has gotten in his head, and he thinks that that's a possibility. And I think he's trying to, lay some groundwork as to why he may not be able to be there.
Does it help Democrats, Brittany, if Trump can't attend the highest profile GOP event of the presidential election cycle? I mean, can you imagine an acceptance speech from Mar-a-Lago?
I mean, listen, if I'm a Democratic operative, I am playing video of Donald Trump sitting at home, unable to attend his own nominating convention on constant loop. It will be on every single social media platform. It will be in every single commercial slot that I can find and afford, because I want that image out there to the American people. I want the American people to be very clear that if the Supreme Court and our other judicial institutions will not forbid a convicted felon from running for president, then we, the people, have to hold the line. And to be clear, it's not just about his present circumstance. It's about all of the things that he promised to do when he gets into office, because this is a person who keeps showing up in front of America as a loser. And when Donald Trump shows up as a loser, he vows to take out vengeance on anybody who pointed and laughed at him when that happened. He's promised a revengeful cabinet. He's promised a vengeful policy platform. Project 2025 is a reminder of just how vengeful not only Donald Trump, but this entire party can be. And now is the time for Democrats and, frankly, everyday people who are clued in to remind everyone they know of that.
You know, and Brittany, what Brendan had referenced earlier, the fact that Donald Trump allegedly called Milwaukee the host city of the RNC, a horrible city. I mean, how is that going to play out? I want to say that the Trump campaign denies he said it and says that, oh, he was saying something about relative to crime. But how does that go down with Wisconsin voters?
Well, isn't it fascinating that the so-called cover that his operatives put forth was a narrative about crime and not the actual nature of the city? That, of course, is a dog whistle for Black people. Milwaukee, much like Baltimore, another city that he patently insulted in front of the country, is a city with a large Black population, a very proud Black population. And he continues to go after cities and locations and regions that have Black populations, Black leadership of color. And these dog whistles will still continue to appeal to the base, irrespective of what city he's talking about. So it might have been Milwaukee yesterday. It could be my hometown of St. Louis tomorrow. It could be Oakland, California the week after that. What we know to be true is that Donald Trump understands the dog whistles that are necessary for his core base, and so does the GOP. And they're going to keep saying those as loudly as they can, no matter how they try to throw rocks and hide their hands.
Look, Brendan, she has a point. That will appeal to his base. But does that do material damage to Trump's chances in a key swing state, which Wisconsin is?
Yeah, there's no smart play here. I mean, the only reason I could think that he would say such a thing is that he's trying to lay groundwork for not showing up. Wisconsin is one of the most important states that he has to win. I mean, it put him in the White House 8 years ago, and it was one of the ones that cost him 4 years ago. The constant problem with Donald Trump is that the things that he shoots from the hip always undermine good politics. In some ways, he actually has decent political instincts, but he can't help himself by doing things like this and revealing his true character. Maybe he thinks he's safe behind closed doors. He says all kinds of crazy stuff like this all the time. And, there's been comparisons to, Joe Biden and talking about Donald Trump's potential mind going and him slipping. He's always been like this. I've been in, years ago, I've been in rooms hearing him say stuff like this. So to me, the bigger thing is it reminds people that he is not a very stable person at a time we need pretty strong leadership. He's not really someone you can rely on.
So we're less than 2 weeks, Brendan, from the first debate between Trump and President Biden. The Biden campaign plans to let Trump be Trump and hope his extreme views and what you're describing, the meandering way of speaking. They're hoping it cures the Trump amnesia that we have talked about. Can a debate do that?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fascinating debate. You typically talk about the incumbent president not doing very well in a debate because they haven't been challenged in a while. They're not used to having debates, and the challenger usually does very well. I think this is a situation where both of them are going to be facing that issue. Obviously, Donald Trump skipped all of the Republican primary debates. He hasn't debated in years. But this is also very clearly someone who's not used to being challenged. And when presumably the president pushes back on him, seeing how he reacts to those things, he lives in a bubble where no one ever questions anything he does or says, and he surrounds himself with yes men. I'll be very interested to see how he responds when he gets some digs, and For example, when Joe Biden brings up that he's a convicted felon, how is he going to react?
Yeah, interesting. How about you, Brittany? What do you expect from the debate?
Listen, it's clear that we're going to see a lot of comparisons about their fitness for office, especially given both of their advanced age. But I think it's going to be critically important for President Biden to explicitly draw out the distinctions and differences between he, Donald Trump, and this GOP party. As you said, there has been a high level of Trump amnesia that we've been seeing throughout the country. And many people are thinking, look, I survived him before, I can survive him again, not fully realizing that he's coming back to do even more damage. And so President Biden is going to have to make that explicit and as plain as possible for the American people. So certainly let Trump be Trump, but make sure to draw those lines of difference as clearly as possible so that there can be no confusion about which candidate is actually going to move us backward and which candidate at the very least can offer us stability as we work collectively to move forward.
Okay.